Okay, so hey there. Today we're going to be reviewing the Realme 8S 5G. This is one of Realme's newest releases, and it's basically a rumored product that came out in GSM Arena today. It's very cool, and it does have some considerable specs that allow it to be a pretty cool phone overall. And Realme does make some good budget phones, so we'll be looking at it and giving it an overall ranking like we do in other videos. Starting off, I'm going to look at the design. You can see it does have a lustrous finish, so I think that if you want a premium finish, this is the way to go. From just this here, I can see that it does have a side fingerprint reader, so that's pretty good. Those are usually fast. It does have like a slight camera bump. It's SIM ejector tool at the top, and I'm guessing the power button doubles as the fingerprint reader, just like it does on my phone. There's also the volume button on the other side, so I think that's pretty convenient. I usually dislike when the volume button and the power button are on the same side, because that just causes more reach for your hand. Yeah, you can also see it does have this microphone slot over here. It has like a 4 quad speaker setup, and it does have this headphone jack over here. Okay, so it is not announced yet, but it is a 5G phone, and I think that's actually pretty cool because basically all phones nowadays are 5G, and considering this is around $300 in rumored price, I think that's pretty cool. Fanish, can you tell a bit about the body and the memory?
Sure. So as of right now, we don't know much about the body. All we know that there's a dual SIM. We don't know like how big it is or how much it weighs. So that's all I can say about the SIM. For the memory card, I think there is one. They haven't really told what type of memory card slot they're gonna use, but I'm pretty sure there is one. Its internal memory is 128 gigabytes with 6 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Both are pretty good options. It just says it runs on UFS, so we don't know what UFS it runs on. But if it runs on UFS 3 or 3.1, it's pretty modern and it's pretty good for its memory.
Yeah. So looking at this, I agree with that. But let's go to the display real quick. It is an IPS LCD panel, so you probably won't get like the brightest or most contrast colors, similar to other Realme phones. Like you can see, this one is probably also an IPS LCD panel because most of it is. And you can see, it's not like the best panel, but it does give some good panel images. So it's fine. But it does have a high refresh rate. That's the thing. When I go to the chip, I'll mention this again, but 90 Hz is the peak, and 90 Hz is a good refresh rate, but 120 is usually better. So, if you want even higher than that, then you might want to get a 120 Hz phone. It does have a 6.5-inch screen, 1080p by 2400 pixels in terms of resolution, and has a 405 pixel per inch density, which means it's overall pretty good. You get good resolution, and you can watch movies easily and such. Now, going to the platform, here on the website doesn't mention the processor, but I do in fact know the processor. The Android 11, it runs on Realme UI 2.0, which is pretty good, pretty modern. It only mentions the octa-core CPU, but I know for a fact that it does have the MediaTek Dimensity 700 5G, which is the same one if you may have seen our Moto review from the last episode. Be sure to go check that out. That's the same one that this had. So basically, it's on par with around the Snapdragon 480, and it does have a max refresh rate of 990 hertz, and this one is 2520 by 1080 is the maximum resolution. So it's not the best, and video encoding is also not the best, so beware of that. You probably won't get the best gameplay, nor video recording, or like photo processing algorithms using that. And it does have an ARM Mali G57 MP2 as its GPU, which is basically, as you can see here, it shows its multi-channel and single core performances. And you can also see that when its benchmarks, it compares very low. If I zoom in here, you can see this is basically the ARM Mali. This is one of the nearest ones, the nearest comparison. You can also see that usually the ones that are made by MediaTek as GPUs don't compare anything to the other things such as Apple M1 8-core GPU or the Qualcomm Adreno chips, which are much more powerful than these ones. So I wouldn't recommend, if you're going for the gamer kind of vibe and you want to play games, then I wouldn't recommend this one, especially considering that chip is garbage. Uh, so yeah. Going to the main camera, you do have a 64 megapixel wide with a phase detection autofocus. It does not mention its aperture, nor does it mention its distance and scope. So we just have to assume that it's a regular 64 megapixel camera that's peaked performance for the Dimensity 700. It also has an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, which will give you good ultra wide camera shots, and I don't consider the 2 megapixel depth because I'm pretty sure that's useless. On the video, it does come 4K at 30 FPS, which is basically the standard now. Anything lower is bad, but at least it's up on par with the standard, and it does record 1080p at both 30 and 60 FPS. Um, yeah. So you wanna go on to the selfie camera, sound, and battery.
Yeah, so the selfie camera has 16 megapixels with an aperture of 2.5, so that's a pretty good selfie camera. It's a wide selfie camera, but its video runs at 1080p at 30 FPS. Which, I mean, now I guess since we're seeing that in a lot of phones, you can't really complain that much. The sound, it has a loudspeaker and a 3.5 millimeter jack, but once again, we don't know if it uses stereo speakers, so we still have to wait for that. Um, for its battery, it's a 5,000 milliamp battery, and its fast charging is at 33 watts, which is a little bit lower than like
I think
watt
33
charging
is
that we
way
usually
good.
see nowadays.
33 is really good. I don't
It's
think that's bad.
good. It's good. Yeah, it's good, but I wouldn't deem it as the best.
It's not the best for sure,
Uh,
but
like
especially for
yeah,
$300, it's the best that you can get for 300. There's no phone
for
that has
three
that
hundred
fast
dollars,
charge. Yeah.
for $300 this is really good. But if it was something like $500 or $600,
Yeah, then you would expect
I
like
would
65 watts or something like that, because most
yeah,
phones at that price are 65. Okay, now looking at the
yeah.
colors, we see it has black and other colors, except you can see the one that listed is like kind of like this purplish gray kind of thing. So we can't really judge the amount of colors it has, and its price is around to be 300, which is pretty good. I actually think that's actually a good one. I would recommend that if you want a good chipset, it does not come with a good chipset or GPU pairing, so maybe watch out for that. There are better options out there in my opinion. But yeah, let's give it a rating. I think we can disclude the body, like not include the body, because that barely has any information on it right now. So, and I think it's also good if we just take out the miscellaneous, because I think both of those don't have much information about them. So we'll do it out of 80. Let me quickly do everything that I think the display is a 7. Okay, I think that the platform, I don't really like that, so I'll give it a 6. Because I don't think the chip and CPU is that good, but it does run on Android 11. It will probably get a future update at least 2 years or 1 year, depends on what Realme chooses to do. I don't think they'll give 3 years though. Okay, so then now that we finished that, I also think that the main camera is a 7. It does have a 64 megapixel and an 8 megapixel wide, and it does take good video at 4K, I guess. So you can probably rely on this somewhat. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Um, yeah, so Tanish, you wanna give your rating for everything else?
Sure. So for the for the memory, I would give it right now. I'm gonna give it a 6. Cause actually no, I'm gonna give it an 8 because I don't know what UFS this memory runs on, and it doesn't really specify the card slot. So right now that'll be an 8 for the selfie camera, and because of its price, I'm giving it a 9. For its price, that's a pretty good selfie camera. For the sound, I'll give it an 8. I don't know if it runs on stereo speakers, so that's an 8. And for the battery, only because of its price, due to its price, I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10. If the price was a little higher and this was the fast charging, I probably would have given it an 8 or a 7. But because of the price, it's a 10.
Yeah, so overall we have a 58.5 out of 80, which is okay score, I guess. In my opinion, I would disagree with some of the ratings you gave. I think they were way too high for this phone. I think it is a good phone for the thing. I'll agree with the battery, because for the price, I think this is one of the best batteries you can get. But I do disagree with the sound. But yeah, we can let that pass. It's fine, because we all have our own opinions. But I will disagree with the sound,
The
because you
reason
can.
why I The
Because you can
sound, the reason
see,
why I gave it an 8 was because of the stereo speakers. I don't know if it does
yeah,
have any.
you can
If
clearly
it does,
see it
I'd
doesn't
probably
on the
give it
image. It does not have stereo speakers, so that's why I would give it for the sound. And for the selfie camera, there are also better selfie cameras out there for the price, especially considering the two features that it comes with the thing, and the 16 megapixel with an aperture of 2.5. I would probably give this one, instead of a 9, I'd give it a 7, probably. But yeah, so I think overall with the deductions, it would be like 50 out of 80. But with consideration, I think it's 55 out of 80. I think that is a good score for the price. That's the thing, 55 out of 80. So you decide if you want to get this phone or not. I think there are, like, even Realme itself makes better phones than this. I don't know why. I think this is a good phone. There's nothing too bad about it. You'd be happy with this phone. As this comment from Iris BSD said, he said, "I'm happy to have this device if it is completed with an AMOLED display, micro SD slot, minimum 5,000 with fast charging 65 watt, and around a competitive price." But then also people said that the chip is not that good either. So maybe watch out for that if you especially want some good processing. So I think that's basically summing up this one. So yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate you, and comment down below what you want to see in the next review. And yeah, subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.
Bye.